Hello and welcome back to the Blueberry Homestead. We are back in the kitchen and today we're going to be making some 30-minute mozzarella cheese. You can use any kind of milk. You can get it from the store, a local farm, or right in your backyard from your cow. It can be raw or pasteurized. It doesn't matter. If it's raw, you do want to make sure you skim the cream off first, as that will make it more of a greasy cheese. But let's get started. This is a super easy process. I've been doing this for about 3 years now. And it just keeps getting better every time I do it. So the first thing you want to start with is 2 gallons of skimmed milk. Now this was raw milk straight from the cow. I skimmed the cream off and I poured it all into this big stock pot. You want to make sure that you're not using any aluminum. Okay, next, after you pour your milk into the stock pot, you're going to get 2 cups of cool water. I do not use chlorinated water. I get my water straight from my Berkey. It's room temperature, that's cool enough. So 2 cups of water, and then you're gonna add in 2.5 teaspoons of citric acid. Now I got this citric acid from New England Cheese Making Supply. I have it shipped right to my house. Again, I've been using this for 3 years. It's an 8-ounce package and I only use 2.5 teaspoons every time I make cheese. So this lasts a long time. So 2 cups of water, 2.5 teaspoons of citric acid. You're gonna add that to your water and you're gonna stir it to dissolve it. Okay, after you have dissolved your citric acid into the cool water, you're going to quickly pour it into your pot and stir. You want to make sure that you stir it real well. If you don't stir it or if you pour it too slowly, it could curdle the milk. So just stir it real well, real quick, with a wooden spoon preferably. Again, no aluminum. And then you're going to turn your stove on. I like to keep my stove at about medium high. You don't want to heat it too quickly, and you want to heat it to 88 degrees. Stir it as it's heating so that it heats uniformly. Don't walk away. I mean, you can do a couple other things in the kitchen while you're doing this, but don't leave the kitchen. You want to keep an eye on it. It heats to 88 degrees quite quickly, much quicker than you would think. So once it gets to 88 degrees, you're going to turn off your heat, and then we're going to add a rennet mixture, which I will lead you through. Okay, while your milk and citric acid mixture is heating, you can start preparing your rennet mixture. You're going to want to rinse out your measuring cup or grab another one, and you're going to get ½ cup of cold water. Again, I just use it straight from my Berkey. It is cold enough at room temperature. And you're going to add a ½ teaspoon of animal rennet. Now there is another kind of rennet that you can use, but I prefer animal rennet. Again, you can get this from the New England Cheese Supply Company. You can get it on Amazon. There's other local carriers or internet providers that you can get it. But I prefer the New England Cheese Making Supply. So again, you're gonna do ½ cup of cold water to ½ teaspoon of animal rennet. Okay, once you've added the rennet to the water, just give it a stir and you can let it sit until it's time to use that. Again, while I'm standing here, I'm just going to keep stirring my milk to keep that heating uniformly. And it should take no more than 5 minutes, I would say. You can heat it even slower if you want to turn your heat down to medium. Definitely don't turn it any higher than medium high. You don't want to heat it too fast because you could scorch and burn the milk on the bottom of the pot. So my milk and citric acid mixture has been heating for just over 2.5 minutes. So I just want to check the temperature, and as you can see, it's already at 72, 74 degrees. So again, remember, this happens very quickly to get to 88 degrees. So I'm just going to keep watching it. Okay, we have been going for a little over 5 minutes. And as you can see, we're at 87, 88, just about there. And we are at 88 degrees. So I'm going to turn the stove off. I'm going to give it another little stir, and I'm going to quickly stir in my rennet and water mixture. I like to backfill my measuring cup just to make sure that I get everything out. I'm going to give this a stir. Make sure that it distributes evenly. Okay. And now we're going to set the timer for 15 minutes. And we're not going to do anything. You're just going to let your milk set. The rennet will set up your milk, and it will turn it into the beginnings of cheese. So what you're going to notice when you come back in 15 minutes is that this is going to have formed a like solid gelatinous mass. Once you give your pot a shake, as you can see as I shake it now, it's liquid. When you come back in 15 minutes, when you shake the pot, like I said, it's going to be like a gelatinous mix. I don't know how else to describe it, but I will show you. So now's a good time to get your jars washed up, get your kitchen cleaned up a little bit, and we will be back in about 15 minutes. All right, your 15-minute timer is up, and you can see where there's the separation of like the liquid, and your milk has turned into like this gelatinous mass. So now we're going to take a knife, and we're going to cut it in like a cube grid, and we're going to cut 1-inch cubes.
All right, I'm going to do the dentist, remember?
After you've cut it, you can take your wooden spoon in there, and you can gently lift up the cubes, and you can see the liquid that's in here. That is the whey. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the heat on again, and we're going to slowly heat it to 110 degrees. And you want to stir it while you're heating it. And what this is doing is going to be expressing more of the whey out of the cubes, and kind of breaking this back down. It's not going to turn liquid again, but it's going to break down the cubes. You'll see. So again, we're going to heat this to 110 degrees. We're going to continuously stir and lift while it is heating. And once it reaches 110 degrees, we will turn off the heat again. Okay, we've reached 110 degrees, and as you can see, this yellow liquid has separated from the cheese, and the cheese has melted down into more of a clump instead of all those separate pieces. So this yellow liquid is your whey. What we're going to do is we're going to pour that off. You can either just get rid of it, throw it down the drain, or you can save it. There's a lot of recipes that you can make with it, pies, lemonades, things like that. Or you can feed it to hogs or chickens, whatever you prefer. So we're going to strain the liquid off, and we're going to save this ball of cheese and move on to our next step. I like to save my whey for the pigs, so I'm going to fill this bucket with enough, and then I'm going to set it aside, and I'll strain the rest. I like to just squeeze out some of the whey while it's in the strainer. Just makes it a little less liquidy, a little less work to do while it's in the pot. As you can see, you can kind of shape it right now, but it doesn't matter what you shape it into at this point, because you're going to be, again, reheating it to express more of the whey. And then you're going to stretch it. So don't worry about the shape that it's in right now. But it is. Now we're going to cut it back into chunks. And this will help it to express more of the whey. You can see as I'm cutting it, liquid is coming out of it. It's exactly what we want. You could leave it into a clump, but the whey will not be expressed as quickly or evenly, and you might even have some left in there that you don't, more than what you want. So we're going to put it back into our stock pot. At this time, we're also going to add 2 quarts of water and salt. And this will be salting our cheese. Okay, you want enough water in there that it is covering the cheese. Okay, we got that, and now we are going to add salt. It takes a lot of salt to salt this cheese, so it's going to seem like overkill, but I'm going to use 8 to 10 tablespoons of salt. You want a good salt, a sea salt or a kosher salt. Do not use iodized salt. I like to use just this kosher salt. It's inexpensive, and so I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm not really going to measure it, but you want to do 8 to 10 tablespoons of salt to 2 quarts of water with your cheese that came out of 2 gallons. All right, at this point you want to turn the heat back on. You're going to start stirring it just to incorporate that salt, to dissolve it a bit with the water. You want to heat this very slowly. There is not a temperature that you're heating it to, but as you heat it, you're going to notice the cheese starting to clump again together. Right now, it is nice and separate. All of these chunks are separate, but as they get warm again, they will start being able to, it's kind of melting it, and they're going to clump together again. As that happens, then we can start the stretch process. So again, heat it slowly. If you heat it too fast, you're going to express too much of the whey too quickly, and that's going to leave you with a dry cheese. So slowly start heating it so that the curds start to heat up, and then they can start melting back together. This is going to take probably a good 10 to 15 minutes. So just stay by your stove. So this is not the time to walk away. You can walk away for, about a minute at a time, but don't leave this unattended. Okay, now that your cheese has been heated and stretched, it's time to make your chill bowl. You're going to fill a good sized bowl with cold water and ice. And we're going to transfer the cheese from the hot salty water into the bowl to cool off before we form it into the ball and put it in the fridge. And that's it, and you're done. Okay, now we're going to remove the cheese. You want to try to form it into the shape that you want it. So if you want it into a ball, form it into a ball. If you want it more into a log, now's the time to do that. Once you put it in the ice bath, it does start cooling it down and it's harder to form. So it's not going to be perfect. Okay. All right, now that it's in the ice bath, it's still pliable. It is warm, but if you can take it, you can grab your cheese. It's already starting to cool off. And this is when I like to finish forming whatever shape I want it to be in. Now this is also, as you do that, going to keep expressing some whey out. There we go. And I have enough ice water in here that it's going to cover it so that it cools it evenly. We're going to leave this in here for 15 minutes and then you're done. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. You can take your cheese out of the ice bath and you should have a nice formed lump, whatever the shape is that you made it. Put it in a container, put a lid on it, put it in the fridge, and you're all set. It should keep good for about a week. I wouldn't recommend keeping it in there any longer. However, if your family is like ours, it probably won't last longer than a day. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions, throw those in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.